inshallah. But before I talk about Rajab, it is the birth date of our fifth holy Imam, Imam Muhammad al-Bakar, salawatullahi salamu alayhi. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. And his title al-Bakar literally means to split open. Baqirul ilmi ba'da nabi. The Prophet, when he came, he introduced knowledge to an ignorant people. The nomads, the Arabs there who did not know much. The Prophet brought about a different perspective to life. And from that time up to the time of the fifth holy Imam, the fifth holy Imam is entitled Baqirul ilmi ba'da nabi. That means whatever knowledge that the Prophet brought, he expounded it further and he opened it further. That's what the fifth Imam did. In other words, he left behind a legacy that taught us the true meaning of knowledge. Now, in order to appreciate what he has done, and we will talk in summary what he has done, he and his son, the sixth holy Imam, what they have done in service to learning and knowledge is something so interesting. But in order to appreciate it properly, we need to understand the background, the context. If we were living during the time of the fifth holy Imam, I can tell you, guaranteed, we will not be spending time with the Imam. You know why? Because the fifth Imam was living at a time when Banu Abbasi were slowly taking over the Banu Umayyads. Today in history, we can pass it away as an event that Banu Abbas overthrew the Banu Umayyah, they took over and the empire came. But try and imagine that if you are living at that time, the time of the fifth Imam, where there is a movement, where there is political campaign against the Umayyad dynasty, and in the name of Ahlul Bayt. So we are all political animals, yeah. We love to see what is happening in Gaza and Lebanon and Iran and Iraq, which is fine. It's a sign of our awareness and consciousness. But imagine you were there and people are getting rid of the despots, the tyrants, in the name of Ahlul Bayt. You know how excited we would be? We would probably join the movement because it represents what we believe in. But it is during that time that our fifth Imam took a step back and away from all politics. No rule, no power, not interested. And laid down the framework and foundation of understanding what is knowledge. Knowledge. When we talk about knowledge, the perspective that we get, the perception that we have is somebody who knows things. Imam Muhammad al-Bakar alayhi salam says in a hadith, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. In a hadith he says, لَيْسَ الْعِلْمُ بِكَثْرَةِ التَّعَلُّمِ. Knowledge is not learning a lot. وإنما العلم نور يقذفه الله في قلب من يريد الله أن يهديه. Knowledge is a light that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala throws in the heart of whosoever He wishes to guide. Not somebody who, if I spend time, I make efforts trying to learn, that ultimate knowledge will come only if Allah wants me to be guided. The first part of the hadith is interesting. It says, لَيْسَ الْعِلْمُ بِكَثْرَةِ التَّعَلُّمِ. That knowledge is not by gaining a lot of data. It is not that. You know why? Because you just have to sit back and think that who is the most learned entity. Forget Allah, forget the Prophet. If there was anybody who knows everything that has happened before, is happening and is going to happen, he's going to be a witness to everything. You know who it is? It's Iblis. It's Iblis. Iblis knows everything. What has happened from Prophet Adam's time up to today, not a single thing has passed him. He's alive. He's witnessed everything. He has an army that Allah has allowed to try and misguide us, to try and distract us. So Iblis, if learned means just knowing things, then Iblis would be the most learned. The problem is that it is not equal to most learned. Knowledge is only considered truly useful. A person is only considered truly knowledgeable if that knowledge is a light in his or her heart. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not by giving data and information, no, that is not what He wants. Allah wants that light in our heart with which we guide ourselves. Now, whatever we learn is to guide ourselves. So Imam Muhammad al-Bakar alayhi salam laid down the foundation of understanding the difference between just data overload, data intake. You will get people who are learned enough to recite the whole Quran, who have memorized the whole Quran. And compared to my knowledge of the Quran, or compared to our knowledge of the Quran, we look at that person with awe and say, my God, this guy has memorized the Holy Quran, so learned. Or a person comes and recites verses, quotes a hadith from books, quotes names of books, quotes names of scholars, researchers, academicians, companions, history, dates, locations. Suddenly everybody is, wow, this guy is very learned. Is that the case? The fifth holy Imam laid the foundation that there is a difference. You have to understand what is knowledge and ignorance. And knowledge and ignorance are not dictated or are not qualified or gauged by simply information. This guy knows more, this guy is informed, he's well informed, he's well read. No, that has nothing to do with ilm. Kharu ilm, the actual knowledge, is somebody who can use it as a light. Because what does knowledge do? We have to understand that. What does knowledge do? We are living in a computer world nowadays, computer era. So when we talk of information and data, these are not strange words. You can input things and a machine will do it for you. AI is so advanced, it will analyze and give you all that. So if a machine can do it for you, what is the difference between us and machines? If it is just information. The first thing that knowledge is supposed to do is to give us clarity. What is right or what is wrong? What should be done? What should not be done? What should be approached? What should be kept away from? This decision is made with knowledge. But when that knowledge is interpreted using the light that is inside our hearts, that is when we will be able to see what is right and what is wrong. Until then, that knowledge is useless. You know about what is right, you know about what is wrong, but what will help you decide what is right and what is wrong? What will help you decide? That is knowledge. Knowledge is not about me telling you what is right and what is wrong. I could come up here and tell you 100 things that these are right or 100 things that these are wrong. But how do you know that what I have said is true or not? The whole responsibility of using knowledge, of applying knowledge, is on us individually. Because it's got nothing to do with who is the Maulana on the Mimbar or who is the Imam of the Salah. It's got nothing to do with that. It boils down to each and every person's responsibility individually to discern what is right, what is wrong. To be clear, after knowing, after learning, you have to know what is right, what is wrong. And that you can only do if there is that light in your heart by which you can judge clearly what is right, what is wrong. So, al-ilmu nur. يَقْذِفُهُ اللَّهُ فِي قَلْبِهِ مَنْ يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ أَنْ يَهْدِيَهُ. So that knowledge is that light that comes to our mind, the heart. Now, in order to get that light, we've understood now. It's not about data, it's not about information, it's not about facts and figures that even machines can know. Knowledge is about being able to discern what is right or what is wrong. And here the question is, how do we do that? How do we do that? Think it is easy to be able to tell what is right, what is wrong? We know so much. Facts, figures, history, names, places, events. We know so much. But yet, we are full of controversies. We are full of disagreements. Oh, I don't agree here, because I don't believe this is true. What is causing it? If there were facts, it was simple to deduct what is right, what is wrong, then why are we so confused? Why do we have so many disagreements as to what is right and what is wrong? And that is where the fifth Imam played a crucial role in laying the foundations and principles of understanding what is true knowledge. Then the responsibility is ours. As an individual, only I will answer to God why I chose a particular path. Nobody will answer for me. If I did something, turns out to be wrong, and when Allah asks me on the day of judgment and I say, but oh, Sheikh Nuru said this, he can say and he can go home. He will not take responsibility for my action. I am solely responsible for any decision I make, any judgment I make, any path I choose. I am solely responsible. Imam Jaffer as-Sadiq salawatullahi wassalamu alayhi, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, has a very important hadith. In fact, it is a very profound hadith, talking about knowledge and how to gain correct knowledge, true knowledge. He says, Inna al-ulama warathatul anbiya. Scholars, they inherit the prophets. وَذَلِكَ لِأَنَّ الْأَنْبِيَاءَ لَمْ يُورِثُوا الدِّينَارَ وَالدِّرْهَمَ. And that is because the prophets did not leave behind dinar and dirham. وَإِنَّمَا أَوْرَثُوا al-ahadith. This is what the hadith says, that they left behind those words. And if the hadith continues, and if you are able to get a share of that legacy of the prophets, then you have indeed earned a great thing. Hadhan wafiran, the hadith says. If you are able to get that legacy of the prophets, that is knowledge, then you have indeed got a very great thing. Then the Imam goes on. The Imam says, فَإِنَّ لَنَا في أهل البيت من كل خلف عدولا. But we, Ahlul Bayt, we have from every generation that comes after us, كل خلف, every generation that comes after us, we have a certain group of people. عدولا. عدولا is a group of adil. You know adil, you know what adil means? What does adil mean? Allah is adil, right? So if you ask anybody what does adil mean, they'll tell you adil is just, right? The problem is when we talk of justice, we think of crimes because we want payment. You know, we think of criminals and then we think of justice, yeah? We think of punishment and reward, we think of justice. Justice is more well defined. It is applicable in every action of our life, huh? Every action of our life. Everything we say, everything we do, everything we think is governed by justice, has to be governed by justice, because justice literally means putting things in the correct perspective, in their correct places. So when you do something that is out of place, that is an injustice. That is zulm, the opposite of adl. Now that's a different definition, different discussion. But here I'm trying to say, the Imam is saying that every generation after us, there is a group of just people who will put things in their correct perspective. Who are these people? يَنْفُونَ عَنْهُ. And they will be protecting. they will be refusing any harm that will come to religion. From who? Three categories of people that the Imam specifically mentions. Three categories of people. من تحريف المتطرفين. Tahrif al-mutatarrifin means that it is from a group of people that will lead us to extreme behavior. Three kinds of people. The Imam says that there will come after us in every generation a group of people that will protect the religion, the message of Islam, from three kinds of people. One, from the distortions of the extremists. Two, from the false imposters. And three, from the misinterpretation, from the ignorance. Three people. Funny thing is, these three people are from within the region of Islam. Huh? We're not looking at outsiders. We're not looking at kafirs. We're not looking at munafiqeen. We're not looking at those people. We're looking at within Islam, from within the Muslims. There are these three kind of groups of people that will continuously try to distort the image of Islam, the message of Islam, continuously. Min tahrif al-ghalin, the extremists. You know what is ghulat, yeah? Ghulat is those people who transcend the boundaries. They go overboard. Imam Ali alayhi salam has said that halaka fi athnan. Two kinds of people are destroyed when they talk about me. One is ghal and one is mughad. Somebody who hates me is ruined, and somebody who loves me overboard, more than what is allowed, is also ruined. That is ghali. Any kind of extremism in our belief is not allowed. So, there are going to be people who are going to protect the religion from the distortion of the extremists. And these are the people who planted false ahadith, who talked about false things just to misguide us and claim that this is the correct understanding of the message of Ahlul Bayt. And when we don't have the right tools, when we don't have the right tools to be able to understand this doesn't sound right, and the correct tools are knowledge. We have to know enough to be able to gauge and judge what is right, what is wrong. So this is first. The distortion of the extremists. Tahrif al-ghalin. The second one, intihal al-mubtilin, which is the imposters, the false claims of imposters. This is, you know, when we talk about false claims, this is not about somebody who is claiming to be the imam or the mahdi or the guide, or those things have come and gone, yeah. But I tell you something very clearly, because this I have experienced in our own Jamaat very recently. When I say recently, I'm talking of 10-15 years ago, where one person comes up and is able to brainwash a group of people. On what grounds? This person comes and is able to do something that is beyond our understanding. They call it firasa in the language of the mystics. If you understand what is firasa, firasa is that ability to challenge nature and do something that nobody else can do. This one person, dressed like a scholar, reciting Quran, reciting ahadith, right? And then comes and does something. The power of spirituality per se is so strong that we have to discern, is this karama from Allah, or is this just power of spirituality per se? You know what I mean by power of spirituality per se? You go to India, you'll see a lot of sages, a lot of soothsayers, a lot of these people who can do things that are beyond explanation of nature. Where did that come from? Think that's a miracle? Or that's a karama? No, that's the power of the spirit. But we as believers, we can discern that this is belief in God and this allows us this. This is not belief in God. So whatever he can do, you call him a magician, you call him a soothsayer, you call him a whatever you call him. Khali wali, not interested. But what happens when somebody who recites the verse of the Quran and then does something and then says, follow me, do what I am telling you to do. Do what I am telling you to do. And it starts with simple things like, look, after Salat al-Fajr, you sit on the musalla and every day recite this tasbih 100 times. Come on. Can't be anything wrong with it. Nothing wrong. Here is a person who is reciting the Quran, who is quoting the Prophet in a hadith, who is wearing the clothes of a religious leader, right? And then he says, recite this. And I say, fine, no problem. And suddenly you get into that frame of mind that you want to do whatever he asks you to do. It has happened. And it has happened not only to people in India and Pakistan or Africa, no. It has happened to young boys, university graduates of UK. Here. Who have been, I would use the words hoodwinked or brainwashed. For what? That facade, that it is about religion. And therefore you are doing right thing. Distortion comes from inside our belief, our believers. It comes from inside. It doesn't come from outside. This is not a Christian professor or a Jewish lecturer. No. This is from a Muslim. No, not from a Muslim. From a Shia. Laying the foundation of how we can easily be misguided because we have not understood the true nature of knowledge. So we have to use that light that comes with knowledge, that light to clarify that even if he is wearing a turban, for example, or even if he is sitting on the mimbar, but what he is saying, is it right? Who bears that responsibility? Yes, when I am talking here, I am responsible for what I am talking. But at the same time, you sitting here share the responsibility of being able to discern. You share the responsibility. It is not only my responsibility to make sure that everything I say is right. And this develops in us, the culture of believing everything that comes from one person or certain group of people, and we say, okay, these people are right. So the Imam is saying that there will be a group of fair-minded, just people that will always defend the religion from the distortion of the extremists. Number one. The false imposters. Number two. And then number three, min ta'wil al-jahilin. Ta'wil is the interpretation. The interpretation of the ignorant ones. Ignorant means doesn't mean that they don't know the facts. No, it just means that they are interpreting something that they are not qualified to do. Every time I talk about Islam and knowledge, and it is so pertinent and so poignant that we can compare it to medicine. Everywhere you go, you can apply it and say, but when you go to doctors and hospitals, or a surgeon, for example, right? And even if a doctor who has a qualified degree in medicine comes and objects to a surgeon, what will the surgeon tell him? Okay, it is out of ignorance you have spoken. You have not learned what I have learned. The misinterpretation of the ignorant ones. The ignorant one does not mean those who don't know. It just means those who don't know how to interpret it correctly. And this is the single most dangerous kind of knowledge. Single most dangerous kind of knowledge. The sixth Holy Imam, when he warned us, and he said there is, so that means we are not blind. There are people. Every generation will have a group of just people, fair-minded, learned, who will defend the religion of Islam from these three kind of people. So we have to take the responsibility Okay, now we want to learn, but we want to make sure we learn it in the correct manner. And the fifth imam was entitled Bakar al-Ulum because he split asunder, as it is called. He split open and laid the foundation and principles of structured knowledge. From there, the sixth imam carried on with the usul and the principles of jurisprudence, fiqh and all that. So we are indebted to the fifth imam. That today nothing should be able to sway us. We have our own mind, we have our common sense, we have our own logic, and we are supposed to use these to apply them in our lives and understand what is right and what is wrong. Now the last 10 minutes I want to spend in the importance of Rajab. Brothers and sisters, Rajab is no less important than the month of Ramadan. Rajab is called Rajabul Asab. You may have heard the name, Rajabul Asab. Asab in Arabic, Sabba alayhi. Sabba alayhi means it pours down. Asab means it is pouring, and it is pouring mercy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is this month that I cannot describe the fadail, the significance, the advantages of doing things in this month are beyond explanation. Every good deed is rewarded double. And so many small things. I always used to give an example that we, as believers, we have our boundaries, correct? We enter the framework of an iman by testifying Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, Ashhadu anna Muhammad Rasulullah, Ashhadu anna Aliyan Waliullah. These are our testimonies, and we have entered the framework of iman. Then in practice we have what is wajib. Okay, salah is wajib, Saum is wajib, hajj is wajib. All these things that are wajib and all these things that are haram will determine our boundaries. So we are in the club. We're amongst the elite that believe in Allah, that believe in Ahlul Bayt, that are on the right path. But you know what we lack? We have to elevate ourselves to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that elevation will not come just by practicing the wajibat and keeping away from the muharramat. They are the first thing that you must do. But it does not stop there, because then you have to add to it those things that are recommended so that you can then rise higher, raise yourselves. So we want to get closer, elevate ourselves to the heights of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to get closer and closer to Him. Then apart from the wajibat that we all do, alhamdulillah, and I'm not here to question anybody's wajibat, we all do the wajibat. But apart from the wajibat, we need to do the mustahabbat. And for the mustahabbat, we look for tips, shortcuts. Do this 100 times, you will get this reward. Do this 5 times, you will get this reward. We look for these kind of. And if there is anything, any time that is ideal for this mustahabbat, is the month of Rajab. And one of the most important acts in the month of Rajab is fasting. I know I used to hear from my peers and my colleagues back in East Africa, right, when you tell them about a mustahab fast, they will say, payane chanti chant. Moon to moon, crescent to crescent. Ramadan first crescent to Shawwal first crescent. Khalas. Wajib china. That's fine. That's a reward, that's perfectly alright. But that will not take you higher, closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You want to do that? Fast the month of Rajab. Fast in the month of Sha'ban. The Holy Prophet says, Rajab shahrullah wa Sha'banu shahri wa Ramadan shahrul ummah. Rajab is the month of Allah. Sha'ban is the month of the Holy Prophet. And we will come to the discussion about Rajab, Sha'ban and Ramadan as three. This time is a unique time for gaining spirituality. The climax and the peak will come on the Laylatul Qadr. But we start building in small blocks from now, from the month of Rajab. First of Rajab is tomorrow, and one of the most important actions you can do tomorrow is fast. And let's be honest here, it's winter time now. How long is the fast for? 10 hours? 12 hours? Not even 12, come on. From 7 to 4. 9 hours. It can't be difficult. But let's not look at it from the way of depriving ourselves of food and drink and all. Let's look at it from the spiritual perspective, that we do it for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah loves those who fast during the month of Rajab. Do it for Allah. And it's not difficult. One fast, the month of Rajab. One fast in the month of Rajab. You know the reward? It extinguishes the anger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It shuts down one door of the fire of hell. It opens up a door in the paradise. I mean, these are descriptions given by our imams. Rajab is so much. I mean, there's a whole book just about Rajab, yeah? About the amals that are recommended in the month of Rajab, be it fasting, be it namaz. There is a namaz for every day. There is a dua for every day. There is a dua after every namaz in the month of Rajab. We recite it. We change our duas in the month of Rajab. Ya man arjuhu li kulli khair wa man saqata 'inda kulli shar. Because that dua is recommended to be recited after every salah in the month of Rajab. We don't do it in Shaban. Rajab only. So it's like when we enter this phase of Rajab, we have to experience that there is a change in our life here. Something is changing. The air is changing. The season is changing. That is how Rajab has to be felt. We are now getting into the doors of mercy of Allah. When I was reading the amals that are recommended and then the rewards, one interesting thing came up. There is an amal, and don't ask me what, because you'll have to go and refer it back to Mafatihul Jinan. But there is an amal which is to be performed during the month of Rajab. And when you do it in the month of Rajab, either you or somebody else will witness your place in paradise. Either you yourself or someone else will witness your place in paradise. Rajab is the month where all these amals are recommended. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, may He make us amongst those who He